How to get a business loan up to 5 million incredibly fast without collateral, no hard credit checks, even no interest rates involved in most cases, and so much more. I'll be revealing all of that, especially going into the end of the month offers, as well as some bonus tips in this live. If you will be watching on live, give me a hashtag. You know what I'm going to say one more time live in the comment section, please. And give me a hashtag replay if you're watching during that time interval. I wanted to make this spontaneous. I know this wasn't announced, so I know I can understand if people won't join at the time of me doing this. But I do want to start off by saying that I didn't cover in my last live too much about the end of the month offers. And I want to get into that right now. So, what I mean by getting an end of the month offer, that is where you're not waiting for the next month to roll around and then you're having to then say, well, okay, I'll then accept my offer or then I'll start my application, especially for those of you who have an offer on the table. Why? Because the next month comes around, end of March, you're going to have to supply your new bank statements for March and perhaps another. There's a report that we can add as well on top of that or just by itself. But the thing it does overall is it will limit you in most cases on what you can get funding for. Sometimes we have to start the application process over, or we have to review your bank statements again and then say, well, right now we approved you for 60,000, but now you only qualify for 40,000 because of your latest month, which is March, it probably declined. See, as opposed to you getting what you wanted or getting the maximum amount, now you're sacrificing 10, 5, 20,000 worth of dollars, and perhaps you have to come back and get it all, not in just one take. So this is what's very important, and that's why I wanted to make that announcement very quickly before I move on to the next part. So just make sure if you have an offer on the table, you don't wait too long. I know as of today, we have multiple ones, and then we have some more that will be receiving offers today, as well as the rest of the remaining week. And then even starting next week, depending on the scenario and where they are in the application process, what we have to look at. And if you haven't gone started, that's another thing to address. Another note, I've had people today with the nerve to call me things through email. I've had people go as far as calling me a liar or telling me that I'm not basing the right evaluation of what they can get funding for. So it's a multiple amount of things, not just one thing. Especially the one where somebody flat out called me a liar, just didn't get to me. It just was like, what? Why would they be calling me that? They were like, why don't you want to talk? And I did talk to them about, what was it, early this week or late last week? And then I had specifically given them instructions and they didn't take any action on that. And so when I sent a broadcasted email today, they were asking me, why don't you want to talk over the phone? I mean, we did speak over the phone. I said, can you please fill this form out that I'm going to send to you via email? Whether it's you or somebody else that can do it for you, and you still haven't taken action. You haven't done what is asked of you. So why should I be wasting my energy and time on that? That just doesn't go for one or another person. It goes for anybody. Like, you guys got to understand that when I'm filling out these questionnaire forms, I'm doing it in the best interest of you guys. But at the same time, it is my precious energy and my time that I'm putting into it. No one else gives you a customized and a personalized response the way that I do or do it at all. And so I take my time on these and I email you guys back and forth. Sometimes it can get lost in translation. And this isn't me being negative or complaining. Why would you think that if that's what's already rolling into your mind right now? This is me addressing an issue, a problem that I'm seeing on at the moment on the end of the other user. Sometimes stuff comes on my end that I maybe missed, and I'm upfront about that. I'll be upfront about anything. But flat out calling me a liar about something, it's not justified when the ball was in your court. Like I always tell people, the ball is in your court, whether you follow through with that or not. I have people from last month who were like, yeah, I'll look at the email and I'll respond back. Never said a word. So I take actions very seriously. I'm a very punctual person. I don't make excuses. I just got done finishing about 10 to 15 people's questionnaires who submitted them. So I'll be doing some more of them this afternoon. But this is just to address the issue. This isn't me being negative. This is me being tough on you guys. I have to give you guys that tough love so you guys can realize like what you guys have on the table for you. I'm not pushing you to do nothing you don't want to do. So how do you get up to 2 million, or excuse me, I'm so used to saying that. How do you get up to 5 million? Well, there are loads of options we have to look at, but we also have to understand what you can get approved for. Some people can't get approved for a maximum of 5 million, not even between that range of what's expected. Or you can't even get up to 2 million, let alone that. So what are these services that can get you up to 5 million? You have one of those being the SBA 7A. You have another one being a traditional merchant cash advance. We can fund you up to 5 million on the MCA, or we can fund you up to 5 million on the SBA. You have bank term loans. You have all these other ones that may be up to 200, 350. They don't give you a maximum amount of 5 million in most cases. And then the unsecured business term loans, even through secured business term loans, perhaps, and this is through private lenders, not a bank solution. They can be up to 250,000 or so, but the term length is open to being more of a medium to longer term in some cases, not at all times. The longer the terms doesn't necessarily mean the better you should be interested, or the lower the interest doesn't necessarily mean that. What you have to look at is, does the benefit exceed my repayment? And if it does not make sense, then you will never move forward. Like today, for example, I wish I could show you guys this. I sometimes will go live on TikTok. I may do that for a moment after this is done. And I just kind of give people a rundown of what I'm doing on my laptop. I'll have them on screen. And if it's not something that has been prepared where I'll be talking about it, I'll say, hey, if anybody has any questions, now would be the time to do so. In the meantime, I'm going to be filling out these people's forms. I won't show you what those look like, but I will walk you through a general process of what I'm doing, what's going in through my head, and everything that I get for people. So today, I've been able to help people who have been asking for like 500,000, 600, a million plus, less than 100,000. And there's a common pattern amongst all of these. Whether it's one thing to have business credit established, and it's a whole nother thing not to. So some people who have business credit established, to get 5 million through an SBA loan, okay, that's the first step. Now we got to look at to see what scale you're on. So if it's generally 130, 150 is usually what it bases it on the business credit scale for your paydex and all of that, then it's better. If you don't have that, then perhaps you won't qualify for an SBA 7A, and you can't get those types of terms, that monthly payment. And that's what a lot of people want, but they can't get. So whenever you guys fill out these questionnaire forms, you'll notice when I ask for, do you have established business credit? Yes or no? And if it's a no, I can understand better what you would qualify for. Perhaps you don't qualify for that option now, but you do. Like let's say you do qualify for traditional banking, and you're asking for this amount, this large amount, or maybe it's less. Well, maybe I'll perhaps present to you what options can be on the table, but I wouldn't go and apply to those now because you don't qualify. So what I do to structure these emails together from top to bottom, I show you like one after the next, what is the best solution for you to take? And so many people, they still look at that and they go, well, you're telling me I got to pay $7,000 a month and I got to do a $600 payment, or I got to do a $300 payment with this amount per week. If that's the problem, then you have insufficient revenue on a daily basis. And it's not a knockdown to you. This is just a reality. So I want to break down just a few of these things before you ask yourself, yeah, I want the maximum of 5 million. And you walk in and you're like, well, I didn't get what I asked for. I didn't even get half of that. You're telling me I can only get 100,000. Well, this is why, because I'm explaining it to you how this works. And if you don't have business credit established, this perhaps is the best solution. And even if you had business credit established, if you wanted to get up to 5 million, this actually works out best in your interest. Why? Because of the use of funds is one thing. It does not require you to have 5 to 25 years or 2 to 10 years for that project. And even if you think that's the truth, it's not always the case. And you're going to be taking on overall total cost of financing is just going to skyrocket off. I've seen it so badly in some cases where people are spending an extra 10 to 20, 100, 140, 200,000 for that extra time to pay it back. Where people on the average SBA idle, people are getting what, 120 to 140,000. And you're getting these longer terms, which are helpful. In a lot of cases, it warrants that because you're looking at it as survival money. A lot of people who are applying for the IDLES, the Targeted Advance Grant, are looking for survival money. And I had people today who got shut down, and even somebody who was unhappy that the SBA wasn't able to help them. And I looked at the file because they submitted a questionnaire, and there was no way this person was going to get the SBA loan. Guaranteed never going to get it at the moment. And that is based upon the revenue. That is based upon business credit established, the credit score, the time in business. Some factors of this I looked at and I said, well, they weren't right, maybe how they handled it. But two, they're not going to supply you with SBA funds. And you've probably been misled. You've been probably watching YouTube videos out there or reading through blog posts, or a friend is saying, yeah, I heard about the SBA and I got one. So you should try to go and apply for it. And so what happens? You end up going to go and apply for it only to be let down. And then you're starting back from square one. And it's this whole cluster of a hamster wheel you're going around. And it's like, well, what is my next fix? Where do I find the next program? Instead, you're not fixing the diagnosis. You're going after the symptoms. The diagnosis is then asking yourself, how can I qualify for SBA loan, SBA 7A funding? What do I have to do? What will it take for me to get there? And everybody's in a different place. You may have to try traditional private lenders first to then prove to when you go get an SBA loan that you should get that. And everybody again is in a different situation. So the 5 million, you can get it through a merchant cash advance and a revenue-based loan. And what you can use for these, it can be for a variety of things. A merchant cash advance, you can use it, usually they're short term, 3 to 18 months. You can use it for purchasing an existing business, working capital needs, expansion, growth, payroll, anything you need, refinancing, debt consolidation. That list goes on and on. I've seen every single bit of file that comes through. And I've seen people who start an application, but they never follow through. And like today, I've reached out to multiple people, just asking them, hey, I noticed that you had started your application. I'm not sure why you didn't continue. Maybe there was something you were fearing about it, you were not feeling safe and secure about, or there's something else in there that maybe you want to wait for. Maybe you want to raise your credit score, you're waiting for this. But unless I get feedback, I don't know what's happening. And so I'm trying to do my best to give you the best possible solution right now. And I can always present to you what you can qualify for in the future, like I've done so today a lot with people who have these great amount of revenue per month. Maybe you're doing 100, 200,000 per month and you're asking for 400,000, 500,000, but you don't have no business credit established. Or you have business credit established, it's just not enough. I had people who just recently got declined by an SBA 7A, the EIDL and all of that, because it's not enough of an establishment there. And even if you're working on it, it may take some time. It may take a month or two, but why not take the funds you can take right now and then hold off and then say, well, I'll come back to this and then apply that. And there's a difference in every single person's situation. So you may be hitting a hard season and you're like, well, this is what I qualify for. Sure, it's not what I want in terms of monthly, daily, weekly. If it's hurting cash flow, then I don't recommend doing it. Perhaps a line of credit would be best, and where you can withdraw those funds and use them whenever you would like. But another one, again, as we've been speaking about, is the SBA 7A, where you can get up to 5 million, And this usually takes about 1 to 3 days to approve, sometimes 3 to 5, and then up to 1 to 3 months to fund. In a lot of cases, it's 3+ months. I've seen it being pushed out to 4 or 5, even 6 months plus. And it just depends from the files and what documentation is needed. Sometimes the person doesn't have all the documentation. I'm dealing with that with a few people, and I'm also dealing with people who are looking for personal loans who have been in the process for over 3, 4+ months because they're looking for the tax returns from maybe a family member that they're trying to bring on to co-sign, or trying to get this here so they can get the maximum amount in funding. And I'm still following up with them, and I'm taking very good care of them, and I'm nurturing that, and I'm making sure that you are, at the end of the day, getting what you deservedly need. And what I mean by that is you won't always get the full amount you're asking for, but what are the solutions and what do we have to do? It comes back to, how can I get up to 5 million? What do I have to do to get a loan for 300,000, to get a loan for 100,000? It's not shutting down. That's not the answer. It's, hey, if this option didn't work, what is my alternative? And not just shutting down on it again. So those two options, the traditional merchant cash advance, you can get up to 5 million, and I'll leave some information down below. But that's not my number one recommended solution. I have an up to 2 million hybrid merchant cash advance, and then also a short-term loan, which I'll get into in a moment. And that's what I would recommend you take if you're not looking for over 2 million. And that's another thing too, if you qualify. If you don't qualify, then 5 million, sounds great and all, but if you can't get nowhere close to that, then it won't make any sense. Like today too, I've had people who submitted their questionnaires for mechanics, construction, restaurants, real estate, and all forms of assets and facets of life and everything. And so I've had people who are looking for a ridiculous amount, but their credit score is just, some people are like, I have 60,000, 70,000 in average revenue and lowest month, but they have a FICO score of a 550, and they wonder why. It's like, how do you get a term of 6 months only when you're doing this amount of revenues? Because your FICO credit score, it's just bad. And who knows what type of payments you take on. We don't know if you're going to be able to make the repayments fully 100%. Revenue says one thing, but your credit history just doesn't say, it says a whole different thing. Your utilization rate, it's too high. So we can't approve you for the amount you're looking for. And if your utilization is too high, then we got to verify how much you're doing per year. And we got to make sure it's at that amount or more. So there's so much to look at. And it's not just one thing, not one person fits all solution. At the moment, I have people who are applying and who are having with multiple positions, if it's an MCA, if it's a line of credit, etc. And just be careful about that. If you're one out there who has another position, who you're renewing with matters. Who you're going to get a business loan from matters a ton. And so I want to make sure you're led down the right path so you have the right details also to make the right informed decision. Now, those are the two options again. I'm going to get into the share screen and show you guys one option you guys can go check out that I primarily recommend. But like I said, you have an up to 5 million. There's a different service for that, for the MCA, the merchant cash advance, and the revenue-based loan that can be used for multiple purposes. I just released a video on how to purchase an existing business, so make sure you watch that. I'll try to link for it down below in the description. If you're a part of this email sequence, then you should have had a broadcasted email about that, and you should have checked that out by now. But if you haven't, make sure to refer to that if it is important to you now or if it will be in the future. Also, you have the SBA 7A that we can get you up to 5 million. And there are a lot of them, the SBA Standard 7A. There is the smaller SBA 7A. There's the Express. And there are loads of more SBA 7A funding formats. But at the end of the day, all I ask from you is to be trustworthy, one, to be respectful, and then 3, follow through with what you're going to do. Those are the 3 things that I primarily ask of you. And I'm not saying you specifically aren't doing it, because I know those people who are giving me feedback, people who are consistently sending me emails, people who are not asking questions 3 to 5 times in a row about something. It's all in their email. If it's not there, they ask me for clarity. Maybe there's something I did miss, so I'll answer that. But they're getting on with it. They reiterate something and they maybe didn't see it in the email. Perhaps you didn't read through it. So I'll resend it again, just that maybe that part, or resend the whole thing. But a lot of people go cold. A lot of people will say, well, I qualify for a bank term loan. What are you talking about? I have this $300,000 in revenue per month. Yeah, but you have no business credit established. Or if it is, you don't meet the criteria that is asked for you of this. Oh, the use of funds is this? Well, you won't qualify because of that. So instead of shutting down on what the response I gave you, because just about over 99% of the responses that I give people is just accurate. And what you do with that, it's up to you. And so I won't pressure anybody to take what they don't want to take. So that's being said, now let me get into the share screen here and show you guys a way you guys can also get a line of credit on top of getting up to 2 million. And at any point, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure to voice them to me in the comment section. I would greatly appreciate that. Again, honesty is always recommended, and I try to be as honest with you guys, not try to be negative about things and not complaining about them. If you're hearing it that way, it's not with an intent to come off across. Sometimes I have to push this to, again, give you some tough love, because there are many of you who don't get it the first time around, how this works. So we need to hear it over and over, and we need to come to terms with it. Maybe we need a weekend to think about it, or a whole week. I get that. Maybe you need to speak to your spouse or someone else, but without me getting feedback on what you're trying to do or thinking about, you can go to the next broker. You can go to the next direct lender, the next brokerage, but they're going to tell you the exact same thing that I'm telling you. And I'm giving you bonus content on what you should go do to fix what you need to fix, and then if anything. So we have a program here called David Allen Capital Link, where you can get up to 2 million incredibly fast funding, and even up to 25,000 same day instant approval, and even up to 100,000 at the moment with a line of credit. So that's where I want to begin at the moment. So we have a line of credit program here where you can get between 5,000 to 100,000. It's simple and fast. You can fuel your business growth and its expansion. Perhaps you're not in that situation and you need the funds for COVID relief. You need it for another purpose, and you don't want to use it up all at once. So you say, okay, well, I have the funds now. I can deposit it. I can withdraw whenever I need to. This will be useful for that. You get a better fee structure. And if you've submitted the questionnaire, for the most part, you'll get this. Even if you don't qualify for it, I give you that option. And I recommend this solution for plenty of you. How does a revolving business line of credit work? You receive an approval that's up to $100,000. Take your funds out as you need them, automatic weekly repayments, and new draws and revolving limits. And then the qualifications are very simple and straightforward. Do you have a year's plus worth in business? Sometimes it can be 2+, depending on the industry and the states. But for the most part, it's 1 year in business. Anywhere in the United States, 550 personal FICO, and then 15K plus per month in monthly revenue. If you're not doing that, we have another solution here with the Bank Breezy. And if you're in like Puerto Rico, Canada, I'll leave some information on that down below where you can get started with that. Now, we have the up to 25K today program here with Bank Breezy. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. I've had a lot of people, let me move this over. I've had people applying to them today, getting declines after declines. I don't know if you're not reading the emails that I send you. Perhaps you're not going through an email on mine. Maybe you're just directly clicking the link without getting any more information, or you're just not reading the requirements and you're thinking, well, I don't meet it, but I'll see what happens. And you're just ending up wasting your time because that's just not going to get you approved. You just can't sneak by like that. And again, like if I look through all my emails right now of all the people that have been notified that have been getting declined versus those who have been getting approved, it can be a lot more in a lot of cases. And it's because of the requirements. You don't meet the monthly revenue. You don't have the time in business. You have multiple NSFs. You have negative days. There's so much to look at. And you maybe get to a final stage. And then there are people who I reach out, like literally I've reached out to. They're saying, well, I need more information. And I give them the information. And then I ask them something else. They'll follow up with me. And then they go cold. Like I'll follow up again and they go cold. Completely cold. They wanted answers. I gave it to them. There was another thing that I asked for when they were asking me, or I answered when they were asking me a question and they never respond back about anything. And then I reach out to them and then they wonder like, why didn't you text me? And I go, yes, I did. Did you? Check your messages again, please. And so in a nice way, it's like we have to stay on top of these things. Like I remember first getting started in all this, I did not get approved getting 15,000 plus per month in revenue. I was not in that category. I started like many of you having less than 5,000, not getting anything approved for until I had to figure out a way to bootstrap, to work in my business so I can get to that amount, to bring on more customers, to increase the type of clientele I was bringing in. But if we're just like, no, this isn't working, this business isn't right for me, I don't know what I'm doing, that's just shutting down. There's always solutions to problems, and you got to become a solution type of person and ask yourself, what is the right solution for this question that I have or this problem, and then just fit it in. It's like a puzzle. And so I was growing up in that side of the world for a good amount of time, and then I got into the 5K a month, 15K a month, and then 20, and then the rest is history. It just kind of goes from there. And it just didn't happen within a day. And I had to understand that this lender, it wasn't just working for me. This brokerage just didn't happen. This over here, and because I maybe didn't get approved for, or I just didn't like what they were giving me, so I thought I'd go somewhere else. And I'm sure that's what a lot of you guys are doing, and it can be very difficult, but I just don't want you guys continuing to go in a direction that won't work for you. And just know that what I'm sharing with you is everything that you should be looking towards going for. So we also have an up to 2 million program, like I mentioned earlier, and we can get you that amount and approve within a day, as much as 1 to 2 days, funds deposited into your account, as much as a week, depending on your file. And qualification, it's pretty simple. You only need a minimum of 4 months. Businesses can reside anywhere in the U.S. And again, if there's anything in Puerto Rico, Canada, I'll leave some information down below. Personal credit score must be at least a 500 plus. Monthly revenue, 15K a month. Over 700 industries have served, and have helped out a lot of businesses get qualified for this. So I won't go too much into what the application process will look like because I have a separate video that I link to you guys in those emails when you guys submit a questionnaire, as well as in here separately. So this is what you're going to start off with. You're going to enter some simple funding details, very safe and secure, 100% online application process. We've changed things up. The legal business name, doing business as, your DBA, first name, last name, business phone, email, credit range that you are in. So even if you don't know it, you can put it there. And even in my questionnaire, that's something you can do. The average monthly revenue, and then your lowest monthly revenue in the last 3 months. DAC agent who referred you, and then the ID number. Usually that's already auto-filled. If it is not, I can give you that, and so forth. And then you just continue through that. And I won't show you again the whole process because I have a separate video that will go into that. But let me move this over. Uh, Again, I'll say this one more time. If you're plugging into this, you're getting everything spot on. I don't ever want to come off across as that person who's trying to push you to do something you don't want to do. That's why you fill out these questionnaires and I give you guys a customized response. Out of all the subscribers, out of all the people who actually follow me, not a lot of them end up showing up. And it's possibly because you're a startup, not getting startup information, or you're in a situation where this just doesn't work right now. But if you're unsure about it and you're not plugging into these, how would you know that? If you're like frustrated because you're like, well, I didn't want to get this, and what should I do then? And then now you're trying to figure out who to go talk to and who to consult with, when I'm right here this whole time who can help you get a better answer and get more clarity on what you want to do. So I guess that's what I'll leave you with. Just to recap, up to 5 million, you can do that through a traditional merchant cash advance and a revenue-based loan used for multiple purposes. You can even use it to purchase an existing business through a revenue-based loan, which I've helped out multiple people already do. I've had to shut down some people today that it won't work, but I told them what they can do when they're ready. You have the SBA 7A. You can get up to 5 million there. That's another option. And I'm sure there are other ones out there, but I just want to focus on those ones for now. Perhaps equipment financing can be another one to look at, up to 5 million. If you're traditionally looking for equipment leasing, equipment financing in that way, I'll just try to leave some information of that down below in the description. But also, you have a hybrid merchant cash advance, which I strongly recommend taking, where you can get up to 2 million incredibly fast. Listen, today I had to tell a person that they have about northwood of 200K per month in revenue. They were looking for 500. Perhaps that's a bit of a stretch because we can only get them 75% to 200%. But I gave them an example how a lady who got approved for 600K, and this is just one of many, she didn't want to supply it. She didn't want to take it because she didn't want to supply extra documentation. So she ended up starting off with 150,000. And then, well, she can come back for more and grab the rest in installments, or she can grab more if she wants and supply more documentation if necessary, or grab little or grab less. But just shutting down and saying, well, I'm not getting my 500K. If you needed it all in one shot, sure. But if you use as much as you can and you pay off over 50% of that, we could look at refinancing in about 45 to 65 days or so. Now you get your other 100K to use for what you needed. It's not a problem. But because we have the mentality that we need it all at once, right? Because it's not that I'm raising my tone in a way that I'm thinking negatively or that I'm trying to push something on you. There has to be a time where I have to say, hey, enough with the babying, and let me just give you some tough love instead. Because I feel like that's a lot of the time how people can learn. And like today I said, I had somebody calling me a liar when I told them per our conversation. If I look at my text, it was about, I think, last week on Thursday, about 9 or so days ago. And I sent them the email, so I have proof of that when I sent it. They just didn't happen to look at their text message on their mobile phone, which happened to be, and they didn't happen to look through their emails, perhaps landed in the spam box. But what do I do every morning? And this is a point that I want to leave you guys with is what I do every morning before I get on the computer is a routine. And then when I get onto the computer, if I have to go through my main emails, which is probably the first thing I do, what do? I have multiple emails I go through. I have this account for Gmail, multiple ones for different businesses. And then I have Outlook over here, so I'll go through there and then another one. But I'm not just clicking on the inbox, or I'm not just looking at what's in my inbox and scrolling through it and saying that's enough. No. I'm going through my junk box. I'm going through my other folders, spam, etc. I'm going through Gmail. I'm going through the promotion social tab. I'm going through my spam folder, etc., updates, all of that good stuff, inbox. And I'm not just doing it for one. So if I can do it, you can do it. And it only takes less than a minute. It's just what it is. It's extra energy. You feel like you can conserve that energy by not doing that. And it's like a little hassle out of the way. And it's because you haven't built that habit yet in the routine. You got to build that habit in the routine. When you do that, every day you won't miss an email of mine. You're going to check your spam folder right away. That might be the first thing you do. You're like, spam folder, boom, up. Even if it's not just for me, it's for anybody else. You're like inbox, spam, junk box, boom. Next email, spam, junk box, email, boom, done. Next one. But I've had people today also who have sent me emails saying, I've tried to call you when I've sent them an email based on what they've qualified for. And I clearly saw the mobile number that they put in their signature. I'm like, and I referenced my message that I sent them some time ago, and that's the same one. And I'm like, they should have seen this text message. And then I'm like, well, I sent you the email, but I'll send it to you again. So I copy and pasted it from the original thread into the one that they replied back to, maybe a broadcasted email of mine. And then they go completely cold. And a lot of the times it's because, hey, a phone call would be better for me to explain to you my situation. And in a lot of cases, that's great. Let's do that. There are some little things that I may not know about, but not in all cases. For the most part, that email is what you would want to reference. And that email will give you everything you need to know. But we want to be the person who gets on the call. And just so you know, I don't mind getting on calls. I don't mind being on the phone. It's just it has to be for the right use and the right purpose. And a lot of the times people just end up wasting that time on the call. And so I had to expedite the process of it and give them so much of my time. Like today, I was already taking appointments and we were doing it through Facebook Messenger. I helped the lady today understand her real estate options. How much is the property purchase? How much is the rehab? How much can she actually get for a property? What is the actual amount? Okay, this doesn't work. Can a line of credit? Perhaps, maybe not. Do you have a startup loan for a new business that I'm trying to get going? Yes, I do. But here are the requirements, and they don't even meet that. If you don't even meet that, then this is what I recommend you do. This is the next phase. If you have bad credit, here's a video. Go watch how to fix this. You need help building your business credit, but it's been months. Like, I'm trying to do my best in the nicest way possible. I'm never bad about anything. So yeah, just like I said, I'm looking through people's text messages and I say, well, I did respond back to you about 9 days ago. And I'll even follow up with a text message and I say, hey, I just resent you the email. You want to get on the call, but I sent you an email on the questionnaire you filled out. Please refer to that first. And if you need to still get on the phone call with me to explain something to me, then please do so. So it's a very structured, it's a very organized system that I have, unlike anybody else out there has. I train also business loan brokers when I have the time to. I don't always have every second of the day, and they understand this too. Sometimes I don't even reach out to people within a day or two. Sometimes it can be at the end of the week or so, because I have all my priorities too to take care of in multiple businesses. I'm sure you guys have that as well. So what I want to leave you guys with, not the recap as I mentioned earlier, but just stay on top of your work. When you guys submit these questionnaire forms, no matter if you qualify or you don't, I will do my best. I did about 15 today. I will continue to try to do some later this afternoon. I will try to come on live tomorrow. I'll try to have it more structured where I can broadcast it on the subject. If not, it's okay. And just refer to that. I know a lot of things can get lost in translation with email, but there's a reason why you need to look at that, because all the details are in there. What I can tell you over a phone call, you can explain to me your situation, and then at the end of the day, I'll give you some. You'll ask me for interest in terms, which is fine, which is at the same time not the best way to look at it, because it's always the question: what's the rates? What's the terms? And then I got to get into that, and then I got to go into why it is, and then I'll say something like, "Well, I have to be a little vague here, but I'm going to give you the full details via email, so please refer to that, whether I've sent it to you already or not." And so that's where we're going to get the full picture of everything today. No problem with people just going through that, clicking the link, going to go start their application like that. So let me know too if you guys need help with business funding. I know we have people of all magnitudes, people who need, who are just starting a business. They need to build business credit, they need to fix their credit. They're a non-startup looking for a certain amount of funding for certain purposes. I get it all from all types of industries. But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. It's a question of your resourcefulness. And if you're willing to take that step to look at those emails and say, well, yeah, everything I need is in there. Just click a link. And sometimes you think it's not that easy. This can't be the most up-to-date answer. They're copying and pasting something, and it isn't. What you're getting in those emails are personalized and customized for you, for what you can qualify for now, whether you can or can't. And maybe I'll show you also what you can qualify for in the future. And I'll give you some pointers on, hey, your credit score is this, we can only give you 6 months. But if you raise it another 10 points to 600 and above, perhaps we can give you that 7th month. We can put you between 7 to 11 months. Okay, you want a shorter term loan that is between 12 to 24 months for a term loan, not a traditional or a hybrid merchant cash advance, then we can evaluate you for that. Like today, I've had people who said they were going to follow up with me that did not follow up with me. So they don't deserve that from me, to be honest. I can send them a text and say, hey, are you still interested in funding? And were you going to fill out that questionnaire form or what I sent you? Yeah, I'll do it. Or they don't say a thing, and it's like, I don't spend time on that. I can't. That's not being mean. That's not being negative or complaining. That's bringing you to reality on how I work and how punctual I am. And I'm sure you know this by now. So I'll give it about another minute if anybody has anything they want to say, and then I will close down. Follow me over on TikTok. I'll try to go live in a moment here. I usually do it around this time. I try to do it before 12 or 2, between 12 to 2. And I will get some answers. I'll give you guys some answers there that I couldn't do here. But again, plug in, understand what you guys can qualify for. Ask yourself the question, what will it take for me to get what I'm wanting? Can I take what I can get now, even though my details aren't the best? My credit score, my time and bit, if it were this would be better, but I actually need it right now. So I'm going to take what I can, or I'm going to scale back, and so I can have a lower repayment. That's the way you should be looking at this. Not, $13,000 per month. And there's some instances where you can't negotiate that. Maybe you're trying to purchase an existing business and you need all that. There's other purposes too. We're like, $13,000. Well, $30,000 I'm getting, and I have to pay $13,000 in return every month for this amount of time. Well, let me actually start off with 20, and maybe that cuts it in half, perhaps. Maybe you're now at like 8,000, 7,000. Who knows? 5.5 thousand, right? 5,500 or so. But giving up on yourself, that is something that I won't allow you to do, because you are better than that, and you deserve so much more. So that is going to conclude everything in this video. I appreciate you all for watching. If you guys have any questions, excuse me. Oh, I'm just burping now. I have my Carlos Bake Shop mug here with tea. New York was an amazing experience. So I really enjoyed going out there, but I won't get into the details on that. So that'll be everything from me, guys. I appreciate your guys' time and energy. And if you haven't accepted the offer yet, you have this month. You'll have to the end day of that and the month day to accept it or decline it. But don't leave an offer on the table sitting. I have so many people who don't even reach back to me or my underwriters, and then they go and apply somewhere else and they get an offer, and then they don't get it. Like, they maybe don't even get an offer because they're seeing how many offers you have on the table that you haven't even at least declined or accepted. So then they go, why should we allow you to have anything when you're telling these people you don't care? Well, we're investing our energy and our time into you, but you're not even being considerate enough just to say something to somebody you would decline that offer. So I would submit it as soon as possible if you don't have an application in. We still have time till towards the end of next week. It is March 23rd, 2022 right now. So look into that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If I filled out a questionnaire and you haven't seen it, please look through your spam box. Please do so. And for all else, I'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate you all. Thank you. Bye.